Welcome everyone on our 16th community call. Hannah, have you also started the recording bot so we can have the audio on our YouTube?
Yes, everything is started. I just started the Twitter Spaces also. So if all goes according to plan, everything is set, so we can get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so a little bit of forward like we usually do. This community call is heads up, as I think we hinted in our post and announcement, is going to be covering our learnings from last year, kind of an overview about community and community management, our learnings of that, our plans for this year, and kind of more actionable steps that we're going to take to achieve these plans. And you guys um, could learn from it, or you're inevitably going to be a part of it. And we hope this will suffice, and this you think these are good plans. If you have any feedback for the plans, don't hesitate to write it in the stage chat or reach out or do all of the above. We're trying to make this as much of a fun experience for you as possible with what we have and what we can give. So it has to be more of a conversation. So more than welcome to give feedback, please. Yeah, we wanna really embrace the reason why we are worthy of rocking the title of being the Guild of Guilds, essentially. So that's actually one of our goals, to be more worthy of that title this year. And yeah, we're also going to share a little bit of how to keep a community alive and growing in a bear market. I've personally got a lot of requests and questions about this from friends and other community builders, community managers, how we think about it, how we're doing it. So I'm more than happy to share this with you today a little bit, as much as we fit into this hour. So without further ado, let's get into what we learned from last year. I've put together a few points. Hannah, if you have anything else you think might be worth mentioning, please also add that as well. My first point is a more of a general one. It is just that this iteration and being open to experiment a lot is incredibly important. And it requires bravery a little bit to change things or keep things changeable, which is not always easy, and a lot of patience from your side with us that we're changing things. The server looks different, how we manage the Telegram groups look different, how we post on Twitter looks different. We just experiment a lot, change a lot till we find something that's a common ground between everyone. And that was an incredibly important piece for us last year that we found to be true and want to continue doing. Second point is, with every community, I think it's more of a general advice that it's imperative that you know and find the way that you can give the most value to that set community. You obviously have to know why you're doing this, why you're building this, why do you need this community to exist? What your personal motivations are if you're starting this community or if you're a core part of it. What is the mission? What are you guys doing? Why are you here? And then the most important thing is figuring out the value that you can give and keep on existence in this community. It's also okay if it's a short term thing. There's also I think we are underrating the value of pop up communities and just a community that serves a purpose. You guys do a thing together, it's been fun, but then you dissolve it. I think that also has a purpose, but if it's a longer standing thing, value is incredibly important to know where you're most valuable. And you can also, this comes out of conversations as well. You don't necessarily have to come to this conclusion on your own, but it's generally a good point to have in mind, a good mindset to have, to always consider how can I give instead of how can I extract things, or how can I get things, how can I get people to respond or be active. It's, I think, a very dangerous loophole to get into. I think if you always go back to, okay, but why would they, Like, this is just some random corner of the internet. Why don't I think in a way, what value can I give them that makes it worth their while to come back? Um, that was the second point. Getting a little bit theoretical here, but I think it's okay. Let me know if you guys are bored of it. But I feel I try to keep them concise and valuable. So let's get into the third one. Along the lines of the value and why are you here, your mission and everything, you should always know for the foreseeable future what your North Star goal is. For example, if you are a DeFi community, your North Star goal might be that the community has success trading or has success finding new liquidity protocols and share this information with each other. And the whole collective are more successful with each other or together as a community. They're more successful than they would be alone. This might be a goal for us. I think it's a little bit different. Our North Star goal is more along the lines of how successful we can help you guys be in communities, in being active in other internet communities, in starting new communities. We really just want to help this goal. And also, there's an aspect of our community which is kind of the support because we're inherently a product community. So that's another half is how we can have the best support and being available and reachable and patient with answering questions. So yeah, keep your goal in mind with the community. It's very, very important. Learning from last year. Next point is to not be afraid to reevaluate often. I cannot emphasize how important it is to be very critical of how you're doing everything. Starting from the ground up, there might be things that might have been relevant 3 months ago but are relevant now. Are there communication channels that are absolutely obsolete and no need to exist anymore? Do you have role systems that don't make sense? They could be put in the drawer and you could establish new ones that make sense for the community state and market and your goals and the value that you decided on giving at this time. So reevaluate as often as you can. And along with reevaluation, another point is to look at it in a way that no matter what type of community we talk about, it's always a set of concentric circles, and kind of like an onion, it has a lot of layers. Even if it's a Telegram chat, my people, I am a firm believer that that Telegram chat has, even though there's like no role system in Telegram, it does have layers in it. They're just more invisible, more like sociological, I would say. There's people who are the, of course, admins of the channel of the group, but there's also ones that are more outspoken, that lead the conversation, that always bring in new information. There's also people who are just lurking. So with these layers, it's incredibly important that when you're reevaluating, you make sure that every possible circle and layer has some form of value in this community that you're a part of or manage. That will stop you from becoming very one-sided, and in the end it will give you a much healthier, well-rounded community. Once in the beginning of my Web3 journey, I got the advice, or maybe like warning, or like warning word, to very always keep in mind and look out for, to not get one-sided and only provide engagement and workshops and events and everything for one part of one aspect of the community, one track, because then the other half will feel like they don't have enough and they'll leave, and that's perfectly natural. But you, as a core member of this community, it's your responsibility so that everyone feels like they're getting something out of it. Maybe it's disproportionate, but to an extent, I think that's a very healthy point of view to have, to always provide value for every circle, every layer. And my last point here was to be at the same time both this very responsive, moldable entity that changes as the space and the community dictates. So to be, yeah, like very fluid with how your community structures are, your groups that you're using, the tools that you're using, just be completely adaptable. And at the same time, still staying this very solid unit that stands the pressure of time and the change of the space, and how much, like right now, how much pressure the bear market is putting on community managers to perform and have a ton of engagement and fall into these trap holes of farming and absolutely not deep value exchange and everything. And it's very important to stand this test of time, to have what we talked about before, this value, this goal, this whole well-rounded mindset of providing value for multiple personas and layers in the community, so you can stay this solid entity while also changing and adapting with the space. That, I think, is one of the, like, probably, I don't know if I said this too much today, but that's one of the more important, like, mindset things that we took from last year, and I want to give this to you as well. um, it might sound a little hard to grab. I'm trying to give examples and everything, because if you actually adapt to this or periodically come back to thinking about things like this, I promise it helps. And you'll see change in whatever goals or KPI that you have, or engagement or attendance or anything. So these are my learnings. Hannah, anything to add here?
I totally agree with everything that you just said, and I cannot emphasize it enough how important it is to reevaluate. So basically, what were you just talking about, like checking your Discord server, like your channels, where is the activity and where is not, is just literally what I did last night. So this is like, as a community manager, this is like a constant work of yours, that you are responsible for checking the activity. And if there's no activity, you have to reevaluate it, like, why is it? So was it something permanent? So for example, we had a channel for pop art, and then after that, it became inactive because obviously it was just for one event. But then you need to keep that in mind if you want to keep your Discord server like clean and easily understandable for everyone. You just have to just put that channel into the drawer, put it on the sideline. So yeah, this is something which is like, you think it's nothing, but this is really important actually. So yeah, I just wanted to say this. And about the support, we will get into it right after.
That's a very good example, actually. I should have mentioned that. That's pretty good. Well, you do need to be open to sunset things. That's a very important mindset. Okay. So getting into some overarching plans for Q1 that we took from these learnings, what space has to offer, how we're maturing as community people, and based on our goals generally for this year. So the first quarter, which is the next 2.5 months now, we really want to focus on making the full guild community. And this doesn't just mean this server. I know we have a lot of emphasis on this server, as it's one of our like largest communication channels right now. But I do know for a fact that not all of our community is in here or active here, or Discord is a very controversial topic in this space right now, how much people enjoy it. But we do want to make the overall community experience more of an experience, because I feel like overall in the space, I don't know if we're guilty in this at all, but more in the space, sometimes I see that the actions are more important than the whole of the experience. So a singular action of claiming something, entering somewhere, is almost more of the thing that is happening than an overarching experience. And this market right now, and the situation we're in, I think it's the best place for us to take a step back and see, okay, those actions are great, but how do we make this more of a lasting thing to do, or more fun, essentially? Like, how do we make this even more valuable and more fun, I don't know, like just make it more of an experience. That's one. Um, Another goal that we have is to have okay, so we do have these community calls. This is the 16th, and we do it about every 2 weeks, except if we had nothing to say, then we skip them because we respect your time and we don't just want to waffle here for an hour. That's why just so excited every time we do have a call because we do have things to say, and I'm incredibly happy and excited to share it with you. But other than these calls and the community stand-up events that we're doing this Thursday, for example, with Tango and Stargate Community, and the Build with Guild event where we talk more with our integration partners or someone who's built on Guild with their product. Um, Other than these calls, we'd like to introduce more like smaller point value givings, because so far we've put a lot of emphasis on these live events, and I feel like live events are risky in a lot of aspects, because calendars don't match, time zones don't match. It's a big time investment because they're usually about an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. We'd like to have more smaller points where we can give value. And that's why I was so excited today to find this community management knowledge base that Tango put together in his Notion. Because I feel like that's a very good starting point for value add. I feel like that Notion is such a big value add as it is, but like going deep into it and discussing some points of it, that I think would be incredibly useful. But correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to do that, for example, and even async just in chats or small sections we would go through. I think that's very, very cool. But anyway, smaller points of value adding. Then we also like to emphasize the layering that we have. As you know, and Hannah just said, we are always redefining our community structure, and we introduced a new mini version of what we planned back in October, I think, or November. And we do plan to go a little bit deeper and focus a lot on this new role that we're coming out with, the wardens, who are our admins, who are community builders on Guild. That's a new layer that we are going to establish and pay attention to. And we have our knights already, quite a few of them. And they're very well cherished in the Guild community. And we'd like to focus more on making this even better for them. And I don't know, whatever we can help with, make this experience better. So these two layers we are introducing or strengthening this year or this next 3 months. And we also want to get into keeping the community with these layers, keeping the community very open and accessible, where we just give, like these very general layers where we just have events, we have, all this knowledge flying around, all the support, everything, where we give a lot. And then we still want to have some parts of it which are more exclusive. They're still free to get into, but they're harder to get into. They're still free, but they're more exclusive, where conversations are more contextual and still have this element of safety because of this context that is there and shared with participants. So that's an interesting task. I think the new warden role for admins is going to help with that as well. We'll see. We'll experiment. So bear with us. And along these layerings, we also want to have a more layered support system so that it's not in our general community experience as much as possible, or it's not disturbing at all, so that people who are looking for support can get that really well, but also overall the general community experience can be free of support questions as much as we can, because that I feel like we have so much more to talk about and do here than support. So we want to separate the two. And the last thing that we're planning to do is we're planning to introduce. We do have POAPs after every event. That's already a given. But we're playing with the idea of what other free collectibles and badges we can introduce sustainably in the community. So that is kind of, this concludes the plans for Q1. It might be a lot. It might be not a lot, but it's something that we're focusing our change on. Anything to add here, Hannah?
Nope. I think you just said everything that we talked about. So it was perfectly, well rounded. So shall we go into actions? Or is there anything else that you want to add to the goals, the plans for this year?
No, I think that's a good, sorry. I think that covers it pretty okay. Um, let's get into some of the actions. I think you could also say some of these though. Like this is very much involving you and your hard work. Um, I can get started if you like, but I think you can also
Okay.
jump in with some points. Maybe actually with the support part.
Okay, let me then just start talking about the actions, starting with the support. So, basically, all the things that we just talked about, our learnings and plans. Here's the third part of this whole call is the actions. Like, what are our action plans? Like, how we are trying to achieve these goals, to reach these goals. Is the actions for the Q1, specifically for January, is laying the groundwork for 2023. And actually, the plans that we were just talking about are mainly interrelated. So they have strong influence on one another. So let me start with the support. Our biggest goal for 2023 and the action, what we are going to do is to automate our supporting. And by that, I mean that we would like to start using AI powered support tools. For example, Awesome QA, or I was checking out Landing Party. I don't know if you guys know that one. I haven't tried it yet. I was just researching and I found it really interesting. It's an onboarding and support based on AI for communities. And why we would like to do that and why we are trying to implement these kind of tools into our community is having an automated support without losing the support's human aspect, like 100%. So we don't want to introduce a chatbot which will give you no opportunity to reach out to the team. We still want to be available for our community members, but there are so many questions which are repetitive. So it's like one, another one, another one, and these are all the same. And we would like to put more focus into more important things than copy pasting different answers. So with these bots, we can actually implement an automated knowledge base. So these tools are working based on knowledge bases. And if we have frequently asked questions page or something like this, they can generate answers from them, from these bases, which is really amazing, I would say. So this is one of the plans. I'm just checking in the meantime the stage chat, Landing Party, if they know it. It's awesome. So the second part about the actions is improving our documents. And by that, I mean, we would like to improve our internal and external documents also, because the support, the operations, and even the community engagement is based on knowledge bases. For example, we are working really hard with Rika and the others on our knowledge base that we are going to publish really soon, hopefully. This is like an improved version of the one that is already shared on our server. And we are working on this. And why we are working on this, we wanted to gather feedback and suggestions. And last month, we had a meeting with our knights. We showed them our knowledge base, how it looks like, what are our plans, how we would like it to structure, and all these things. And it was a really great opportunity to just gather, collect invaluable feedback on our community, on our knowledge base from a member perspective. And just a little teaser about the knowledge base, how it's going to be is there are going to be dedicated sub pages, and it's not only about the product. So there's going to be like FAQ and getting involved getting started parts, but also there's going to be some sub pages about the community, because our goal is to have a clear journey, like show a clear journey on becoming a product or a community champ. So these are two of the actions that we are going to do. So first, the automation in terms of support and improving our documents. And there's the third part, which is I would say that like it's both really important for us, both for Reika and myself. It's the community engagement. Reika talked about this before, and what I would love to add to it is community engagement. It starts from the very beginning. So besides the documents, beside a documented clear journey on becoming a champion in terms of like product or a community, there is one idea that I would love to implement is structuring, organizing a more interactive onboarding flow. So, for example, for newcomers or even only for wardens, we're gonna decide like what are the capacity we have. The onboarding flow would look like, for example, monthly AMAs, because we know that like new members are super receptive to the communication. So we want to give an opportunity to it's an opportunity to integrate and excite new members, and we want to inspire them to take an active role in the community, and we want to solidify our relationship with them, because it would be a safe space for them to ask questions in real time relating to the community or discuss any obstacles to getting them involved. And here's one sentence with what I want to refer back to what we were talking about this in the very beginning, is to layering our community and help, because layering our community helps us to understand every layer's needs better, because we would like to learn about the different layers more, like why they joined our community, what are their goals, their expertise, and if they decide on taking a bigger part of the community, like we need to understand that, like how they can add value to other members also, while we are giving value to them also. So we all know that like TLDR is like community's onboarding process plays an essential role in member engagement and retention. And if we are talking about community engagement, it's not stopping here. So as I said, it's just the very beginning. And if they decide to become a real member of our community, for example, becoming wardens or guilders or anything like this, after a good onboarding experience, engagement can mean different things to the different layers. And that's why I'm coming back to where I started, the actions. That's why our goals and action plans for the operations for 2023 is to keeping up with weekly events. And by that, I mean more segmented ones, more events and activities for the guilders, for example. It's a special role in the community. And also for the wardens and for the knights. We have some tools that I already tried out before. One is Butter. I don't know if you know about this, but this is a really cool page where you can create workshops, for example, or like a more structured activity, like event for, I think, up to 100 people or something like this. And with that, you can put polls, you can put like different questions, like quiz nights and all these kind of things. But it's because it's on another platform, not on Discord, we haven't like put it into our plan, the execution plan yet. But this is something that we are really keeping in mind for the future, for example, warden activities or something like this. And yeah, I just wanted to emphasize like how important it is to do the research, do the experimentations, because we all know that this is a place to form bonds with others in the same situation while getting comfortable with the community. So yeah, these are the actions that personally I have in mind that I like to put into our community. Do you have anything else to add to it, Rika?
Damn. This is quite a few. To be fair, this isn't just for Q1 because it's a lot to do. We'll start in Q1 for sure in the first quarter, but it's a lot to execute. And what I want to get better at though is as an overall as a community, I want to share this is a large undertaking. And I think it would be extremely valuable to share more of our learnings in the process of how we're doing this. It's kind of meta. It's like creating content about creating content, but creating content about making the community, creating community content about creating the community almost. But I do be dabbling in some content lately, and I feel like it's almost selfish for us not to give more insight about what's going on, what our planning process looks like, what execution looks like, or is it actually a successful endeavor? Is this something worth following or worth replicating somewhere else in your own terms or on your own terms? So I want to focus on that from my perspective as well, because I feel like that is one of our value adds is to do a trial and error of something that we think is the most useful and most optimal way of doing support, doing events, doing all these different types of value add that we have kind of planned. Um, and and yeah, just share the learnings along the way. I think that's not an easy task. Um, as well because it's a big muscle to train to obviously also share what you're doing. It's not second nature for most of us. I'm trying to get into it, so let's see how that goes. I would just add that here as one of the actions. um yeah, that's most of it, I think. And okay, I've been having a little bit of fun in this stage chat my while Hannah you were talking. I said, I said we were talking so much about layers that I shared the lasagna because I'm hungry. But
Oh yeah, I saw it. I was like, what's that lasagna there? And then I read it like, okay, layers. Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, it's really great actually to read back the stage chat, and every time we are talking about something, talking about a tool or like one experience that we had, and people actually from the audience are like replying back and responding, like saying, okay, yeah, I faced with the same one, or like I use that tool also. Like this is so great. This is like a really great opportunity to get like insights without actually asking like one person only. It's like we're asking like 1200, and it's amazing. So every time I have a question, I have a midlife crisis or something, I'm gonna come here on stage and I'm gonna ask you guys. It's so good learning from one another.
so I think that concludes. I can waffle for half a more hour, for even more, but we want to be respectful of your time. This was the gist of what we wanted to share. We'll continue the learning in public experience and this whole big experiment that a community is, and to provide the best type of everything that we can. We'll do our best. I know we can. I know we can count on a lot of you to just be who you are, be there, and some of you even more, maybe even more help. So we're looking forward to kicking off 2023. I know some metrics, some results, some general vibe in the space is down. We are absolutely the opposite. I feel like it's the best time for us to gather a strong base and build and everything. So I want to reflect that energy to you and to take that home with you into wherever you're going right now. Um, it's a really good time to be.
Oh,
So
actually, I just want to say something because I saw it in the very beginning of the call, but we haven't responded to it yet. So I would love to have Eureka to respond back to it. Is someone asked like any solution to see guild data? For example, more stats from guild. What we can say about this?
It's more of a product related question. And since we've also established that, oh, actually, maybe we should have a call about this too, like product related, like Q1 plans, roadmap, and all of that. Maybe I should have included it today. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. We should have another one that's more product related. But since we decided, made the executive decision that we are doubling down to focusing on admin things and making Guild work the best way possible for creators of communities and builders of communities and admins. This is something that is extremely important in that step. So to see more about the activity, the health, the number of people who join, when did they join, when did they leave, and are they part of other communities, and how many roles they are part of in your guild, and all these other things that are extremely useful. I also want to see that regarding the guild community. So keep these requests coming. This is on the roadmap for the first quarter. I think it probably won't be in January because we do have something called the audit log that we have to improve before that, which is a technical issue. But after that, this is extremely important. So thank you for asking. We'll do it. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we definitely should have another call about these kind of visions and goals we have in terms of the product. So yeah, I think we talked about everything that we wanted today. So thank you so much for everyone for coming here. And we would like to say thank you with a nice pop, as always. I saw that some people already started writing slash claim pop and all these kind of things. So
Classic.
nothing, so nothing to worry about. Like